Hello YouTube, just going to do a quick down and dirty video on my everyday carry, or EDC rig. What I carry is a Ruger SP101 Wiley Clapp edition, and I carry that in a Hume's 721 open top holster. I guess that's how you say his name, Hume. I've been real happy with the holster. I do prefer leather holsters. Not a big fan of the plastic. Not a big fan of plastic guns, holsters, pretty much any of that. But it's all double stitched around where the firearm's held. Single stitched on the belt loops. It's got nice wide belt loops. I do carry a 511 tactical belt is what this is mated to every day, and it works really well. I've been very happy with the holster and the firearm. I've been carrying this for probably just a little over a year, and as you can see, it's held up really well. I probably use this 5 days a week, at least 4 days a week, but probably more like 5. Can't use it on the day I wear shorts, so that's why it's not every day. It works, mates up really well with this firearm. If I can do it one-handed here. There we go. A couple of criteria I had when I got a holster for this is I needed something that covered up the trigger. That is a must for me. I also like it where it comes up high enough for the hammer there so it doesn't poke you in the side. The hammer does stick out slightly on this one, but it hasn't been a problem. I haven't felt any discomfort or no bruising, definitely. So it's worked well. I also need an open bottom holster. I've had ones that weren't before, and they just fill up with, lint and stuff, and it gets to be a pain in the ass. I'd rather have these where it just falls out the bottom. So I've been happy with this. There's not a whole lot of reviews you see on holsters for these little revolvers, or if you do, there's a lot of them the Kydex, and like I said, I'm not into the plastic. I've been really happy with this, and it wasn't that expensive. I picked this up somewhere online. Might have got it on his website. I'm not sure where I got it, but it was under 50 bucks. Definitely one of the cheaper holsters I bought. Usually my leather holsters are in the $100 range. So, wasn't very expensive, not for a leather holster, and I've been very happy with it. And as you can see, it hasn't showed a lot of wear. It's been holding up real well. And as far as the gun, I was pretty happy with it when I bought it. Personally, I think it had a horrible trigger pull. Single action was okay, but double action was really just not what I wanted. I do like the revolver, but I just didn't like the double action trigger pull. What I did was got a set of Wolf springs, and I replaced the hammer spring, and I replaced the trigger spring. I was not happy with the trigger return spring from Wolf. It was really weak, and the trigger felt really just spongy and sloppy. The reset on it was really slow. I put the original Ruger spring back in for the trigger, but the hammer spring, the Wolf's been great. I believe I used a 11 pound. The Wolf website had 3 different ones listed. I went with the medium because I didn't want light primer strikes because it's my daily carry. The heavier spring was an OEM, just the same as the Ruger that came from the factory, so I went with just one lighter. One other thing I did, and as you can see, it's still really tight between the hammer here and the frame, and it used to rub really bad. Now it doesn't rub. I shimmed it. So when I replaced the springs, I also shimmed both sides here, and that made a big difference. It really smoothed it up, and it feels a lot nicer, especially when you're cocking it single action. You can really notice it rubbed every time. It's still not completely centered. I got the biggest set of shims I could put in there. I didn't want it too tight because, like I said, it's my daily carry, and I want a little slop in there, make sure it's going to be functional if it gets a little dirt or anything in there. But the shims have been great. I didn't shim the trigger. it seems to actually came out really good from the factory. But the shims up here came in handy, and they were cheap. I recommend, if you like playing around with the revolvers a little bit, go ahead and shim it. I mean, it was just a couple dollars for the shims. The springs weren't expensive either. There's a lot of videos on YouTube how to pull these things apart if you don't know how. It wasn't difficult at all. Pulled it apart. Went ahead and took some real fine sandpaper, like some 500 grit or something, and went over just the corners. I didn't try to polish anything or change anything, just went over where the machining marks were, where it was a little rough. That helped a little too, but the springs were great. I like the Wiley Clapp. The reason I bought it were the sights. I like the Novak sights a lot better than just the standard 101. As far, it's chamfered right in here. That's nice. And it is rounded a little more than the other ones. And the grips are a little nicer. But the main thing for me were the sights. I really like these sights. And that was a selling point for me. But like I said, I've been carrying it for about a year. I've probably put maybe 500 or 600 rounds through it at the range and out in the country shooting at watermelons or what have you. And it's been flawless. I'm very happy with it. It did smooth up after about the first maybe 150, 200 rounds. I replaced the springs in it after about 20 rounds because I just couldn't handle that double action pull. Hated it. But it still kept smoothing up for, like I said, about 150 rounds. And it's really nice now. I'm very happy. And this is what I use for my daily carry. The Hornady Critical Defense. And as far as this gun, this is the only type of set range ammo I've used out of it. This was my first choice between reading some reviews and some YouTube videos that seem to perform pretty well out of the small revolvers. So this was my first choice, and I've been happy with it. It doesn't have a whole lot of recoil. I'm not recoil sensitive, so I don't find any problem with, full magnum loads in a small revolver. But getting your follow-up shots can be difficult. I have other small revolvers, and I've shot a lot of other types of ammo through them. But this was my first choice with this SP101. It worked really well. I'm good with my follow-ups. Accuracy, I'm very happy with. So I've just been sticking with it. What is it? 125 grain, 357 magnums. And yes, I do not carry the 38 plus P loads or, I've had people comment to me that, all these small little 2 1/4 inch revolvers, that 357, 38, not a big difference. Yeah, it really is. Whatever you're going to lose out of the 357 for the small barrel, you lose it in 38 also. So maybe shooting this with 357s is like shooting a plus P38 out of a 6-inch barrel. That might be comparable, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a lot better using 357s than 38s. If I was going to use 38s, I would have bought a 38 caliber one. And there's a really great video out there on YouTube by a guy named Paul Harrell, Harrel, about the benefits of a 357 over a 38. Don't take my word for it. Watch him. He has a bunch of gel tests, and he gets in depth. He does a very good comparison of the two and why 357 is better than 38. But I just wanted to show you my everyday carry rig. Been really happy with the SP101, the Don holster here, and the ammo's been great. The revolver is, I'm used to a larger firearm. This is probably the smallest frame size wise firearm I've carried daily. I've carried 1911s and a couple other little larger revolvers with 3-inch barrels and so on. So I have no problem carrying this. I guess some people think it's a little heavy, but for me it's the smallest thing I've ever carried. So I absolutely don't have any problem carrying this every day. It's really not meant to be very comfortable. It's meant to protect you and your family. So the little bit of weight you have shouldn't make a difference. And the benefits that you get over this than some of those little polymer framed revolvers is, if you can shoot your small little polymer frame revolver accurately, you'll be a marksman with this. It's just night and day difference between shooting those really small revolvers to this, or even the really small little semi-autos. If you can do those well, you're going to be great with this. So don't go too small when you're doing your daily carry. But anyway, that was my 2 cents. Thanks for watching. Like always, God bless, happy shooting, and safe shooting.